This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Bruchim Abam, welcome everyone. It's a great simcha, and it's almost like a cholam that that we're all here. It's a great simcha for me personally to see so many very dear friends who, without your help, we would not be here today. So thank you everybody for all of your help over many years. This journey started maybe more than 10 years ago. And thanks to you, we're having our first Yarchei Kallah. And Be'ezus Hashem should give us siyata d'shmaya, only malin b'kodesh ve'ein moiridin, lahagdil Torah lahadira. So let's get right into Limonat Torah. The Gemara tells us, Mishenichnas Adar Marbin B'Simcha. When the month of Adar begins, we increase our joy. But we don't know exactly what are we supposed to do to increase our joy in the month of Adar. We don't have any guidelines. We have no parameters. What are you supposed to do? Chazal don't say in the month of Adar we should eat meat or we should drink wine. So it's sort of fertile ground, you know. What are you supposed to do in the month of Adar? Pekudei Hashem Yisharim Esamchei Lev. I guess if you're making a Yarchei Kallah, there's no better time to have a Yarchei Kallah than the month of Adar. A challenge that many people have is every day we daven, every day we're mispalel. We try to daven with a minyan, we try to daven properly, we try to learn every day. And sometimes we ask ourselves, okay, what did this tefillah do for me? What did this lima do for me? Am I a different person? Did it elevate me? Do I feel being elevated? What exactly was the difference in me between before mincha and after mincha? Before the shiur and after the shiur? Sometimes we do mitzvahs, but we don't necessarily feel the aliyah. So perhaps we could try to uncover and discover a few important ideas and perspectives of how to ensure that our Avodas Hashem will change us in a marked way. There's a very interesting pasuk, and I'll tell you, the challenge with the Yarchei Kallah for me is usually if I have a speaking engagement, wherever it may be, you know, I don't subscribe to any liberal principles. Actually, I'll tell you something interesting. I was at a Siyum this morning. This gentleman came to the United States of America 10 years ago. 10 years ago, he did not know the Aleph Beis. And this morning he made a Siyum Hashas. Okay? Someone from the former USSR. He hangs out upstairs in the Young Israel where I give Shiur Wednesday night. So I became friendly with him. He didn't know Aleph Beis 10 years ago. Today he made a Siyum Hashas. And he told me that his grandfather married his grandmother. His grandfather wasn't even Jewish. He was a member of the Communist Party. But he says, I'm proud. At least he wasn't a liberal, he says. And he means it. So I don't subscribe to any principle except for recycling. Recycling, I believe in recycling. Recycling Torah, because there's a rule, Ein beis medrash b'li chidush. Whenever you say over another shiur, even if you say it another time, there's always something new. But I can't do that for the Yarchei Kallah. I mean, people flew in from Eretz Yisrael. They want to hear new material. So I've been saving up all the new material for the Yarchei Kallah. So what we're going to learn tonight, I never said before. There's a very interesting pasuk in Lech Lecha about Avraham Avinu setting out to go to the land of Canaan. So the pasuk says, "Vayetzu laleches arza Canaan, vayavoyu arza Canaan." Abraham went out to go to Canaan, and he came to Canaan. Obviously, if he set out to go to Canaan, he came to Canaan. Why do I need to say that he came there? That's what he tried to do. Obviously, he did it. It's almost extreme. It's superfluous. It should say, "Vayetzu laleches arza Canaan." He left to go to Canaan. We could assume he went there, he got there. No, the pasuk has to emphasize he went out to go to Canaan, and he actually got there. But the Chafetz Chaim says this is in contradistinction to Avram Avinu's father. Avram Avinu's father in the Parshas Noach, it says, Vayetzu ita meor kazdim, laleches arza Kenan, that Terach took Avram, Terach took Lot, Terach took Sarai. They went out to go to Canaan, and guess what? They never got there. Vayavoyu ad Charan. They came to Charan, they never came to Canaan. So Avram Avinu, he sets out to go to Canaan, and he gets to Canaan. And Terach, he sets out to go to Canaan, and he never got there. So the Chafetz Chaim says from here we see something very important. That when you make up your mind to do something, you cannot allow yourself to get distracted. You can't divert your attention. When you make up your mind to do something, then you better do it, and do it as soon as you can. That's the difference between Avram and Terach. Avraham decided to go to Canaan, and he didn't say, well, my phone rang, so let me check what's on the phone, and let me look at that, and let me find out about this, and let me look at the mail. When you set your mind to do something, it is a ikur in Avodas Hashem. When you set your mind to do something, you got to just do it. Because look at Terach. He wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael, but he never got there. He never executed. He planned, but he didn't carry it out. The Chafetz Chaim would say, when a person sets his mind to do something, you cannot be Mesiach Das until you fulfill what you've thought about doing. So, I think in general, and especially in our times, we live in the world of distraction, where there's so many things that we think in our mind, okay, I think I should do A, I should do B, I should do C, and we never get around to it. The Chafetz Chaim would say, don't be Mesiach Das. You have to be totally focused until you accomplish what you've set out to. So that's the first idea. This is something that really resonated with me. Levatseya, to execute. You think about something, you plan to do something, nothing can get in the way. The second idea, here's the second idea. Second idea is, of course, we daven and we learn. But if we ask ourselves, okay, during the mincha, what % of my mind was involved in the mincha? If you were to write down on a piece of paper, okay, just daven Shemona Esrei, what % of my intellectual capacity was given to that tefillah, and what % was just, like a free thinking bird? Could you even say you've given 10%? 5%? There's a statement that Hillel would make. It's one of the most inexplicable statements in all of Shas. When Hillel would come to the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, Hillel would say, Im ani kan hakoel kan. If I'm here, everyone's here. You ever hear that? Im ani kan hakoel kan. If I'm here, everyone's here. Hillel, there are people like that. They come to a wedding, they say, where is everybody? Some people they walk in, they say, where is everybody? And some people they walk in, and they, if I'm here, everyone's here. But what did Hillel mean? If I'm here, everyone is here. So the Netziv says Hakoil refers to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hakoil is Hashem. Hashem Berachas Avram Bakoil. Bakoil is the totality of Devekos to Hashem. Koil refers to the presence of the Shekhinah. But Ani refers to me. Im Ani kan. If I'm here, me, Daniel Glatstein, if I'm here, meaning if every fiber of my being is here, then the Ribono Shel Olam is there with me. But if, let's say, a person davens or learns, and they are not present, they're not present. They're like 3% there, 5% there, 10% there, 17% there, but 83% somewhere else. And they wonder, I just davened, I just learned, I just did a mitzvah, and I don't feel elevated. Where's the Ribono Shel Olam? Ribono Shel Olam says, I'm not here because you're not there. If you're present, we talk about being present. Being present. Being present means the totality of your personality, of your mind, of your heart, of your emotion, of your entire essence is present in the mitzvah, you're going to feel elevated by the mitzvah. It's a different learning, it's a different davening. I'm sure, now this, I have to admit, is something that, you probably never heard me say. But let's say somebody, he davens, right, with the phone in front of them. They're not even giving themselves a fighting, I'm saying even when it's off, they're not even giving themselves a fighting shot to even begin to daven in a way that the davening will have any effect whatsoever on their neshama. Not possible. They're not there. They are not there. So the Rebbeinu Shalom's not there either. The Rebbeinu Shalom said, I'm with you. I'm present to the extent that you're present. Now obviously, focus and concentration and being present is a very difficult thing. But this is the Yesod of Hillel. If you look carefully in the words of the Netziv is saying, Ani kan, if I, in my entire being, in my mind, in my heart, in my emotion is present, the Rebbeinu Shalom is with me. Okay, here's a very interesting one. I never said this over. It's a discussion from the Navi Chagai. The Navi Chagai is one of the most important Nevi'im that you could learn. It's two prakim long. And it talks about the return of Kallah Yisrael in the times of the second Beis HaMikdash. And Kallah Yisrael is returning, and they're trying to build the second Beis HaMikdash, and they're looking at this building, and they begin to cry. They cry because they remember the glory of the first Beis HaMikdash. And they see that the edifice of the second Beis HaMikdash pales in comparison to the first Beis HaMikdash. And they're sort of wondering, what are we missing? What did we do wrong? We all returned, we came back, we donated the money, we dedicated ourselves, we're building the Beis HaMikdash, and the Rebbeinu Shalom's not here. Where's the Rebbeinu Shalom? So Hashem tells Chagai, here's what they're missing, and he poses it in a riddle. Look at number 6. Kayamar Hashem tzavakos she'alna es hakohanim Torah lemar. Ask the kohanim the following question: Hein yisa ish besar kodesh bechnaf bigdai. If a person were to carry kodshim in the corner of their garment, so you're carrying a piece of kodshim, oila chatas shlomim v'noga b'chnafai, and the kodshim touches your garment, or el halechem, or the bread, ve'el hanazid, or the beans, ve'el hayoyin, or the wine, ve'el hashemen, ve'el kol machal hayikdash, will it become holy? Anybody know what's a halacha? You have a piece of meat, piece of kodshim, and the kodshim touches something. Does kodshim sanctify that which it touches? No. Kodshim doesn't sanctify. So the kohanim say, Vayanu kohanim v'yom, the kohanim say, no, it doesn't sanctify. Vayomer Chagai. So Chagai says another question. Im yigat tamei nefesh b'chalela. If someone who's tamei touches bread, wine, clothing, hayitma, will it become tamei? Vayanu hakohanim vayoimru yitma. Yep, it becomes tamei. So you ever think about that? It's like a paradox. Why is it you could have kodshei kadashim, you could touch it, it could touch your garment, it could touch your nose, it could touch your mouth, and it effectuates no elevation and status of that which it comes into. And yet if you have a davar tamei mace, and it touches something, it contracts tuma. Vayomer Chagai, Kain ha'am hazeh. That's you, Kallah Yisrael. V'chein hagoy hazeh, and that's this nation. That is the response of the Rebbeinu Shalom to Kallah Yisrael in the times of the second Beis HaMikdash. So the question is, what exactly is Chagai telling Kallah Yisrael? What is the message of the Rebbeinu Shalom? So the Malbim explains as follows. The Malbim says, in order for Kodshim to give over Kedusha, the juice of the kudshim has to be absorbed in the garment or in the wine or in the oil. But if it's not muvla, if it's not absorbed, negia ba'alma has no effect. Not so tuma. Tuma, touching alone, you could contract tuma. Kedusha, it has to get absorbed. Okay, what are we getting at? Says the Malbim, do you ever wonder why it is that he doesn't use these? You could walk through an airport and you're minding your own business. You're trying your best to guard your eyes, and you walk through and it lowers you. It just lowers you because it's a makam tameh. They're indecent images. You didn't have any kavana at all. Why is it that when it comes to Tuma is so easily contractible, and when it comes to Kedusha, touching Kedusha has no effect whatsoever? Says the Malbim, this was the mistake Klal Yisrael was making. They figured, when it comes to an Avera, if you do an inadvertent Avera, if you come into contact with a Davar Tameh, it affects you negatively. And yet when it comes to Kedusha, a haphazard, unintentional mitzvah will not affect a person pretty much at all. A mitzvah will only have an effect if it's b'chol leiv u'v'chol nefesh, if it gets absorbed into the inside of your system. Why is that? Says the Malbim, it's very simple. Because the body is physical. And because the body is physical, it has a commonality with Tumah. Tumah is in a sense, a physical substance. And therefore, an inadvertent, unintentional Avera will affect you. But Ruchnius and Kedusha does not affect you unless it's bepnimius. Unless you do the mitzvah with all your heart and all your soul and with your neshama and with your mayach and with your intellectual capacity and with all your leiv and nefesh, mitzvahs do not have the same effect as averos. Averos have a commonality with a person. Mitzvahs, not so much. A mitzvah has to be performed with your heart and your soul. If you look in the Malbim, on the bottom line, the Malbim says like this: HaKedusha leitistabek el ha'adam rakim tivlaboy v'tikane saltoichai. A Kedusha will not cling to a person unless it gets absorbed in him and it enters inside of him. Yispesenu belibai uvenafshay hapnimis. A mitzvah will only have an effect if you grab a hold of it in your soul. Loi imtiga boy mibachutz. Not if you just have some kind of superficial religious experience, will not have any effect on you. So it's very important to daven and to learn. But mitzvahs that are by rote, that are haphazard, that are without preparation, they're obligatory, but they won't change you. Tumah has instantaneous effect. Kedusha, you have to work hard to make sure that you absorb it. You have to allow it to touch your heart. You have to allow it to touch your soul. It has to get into your panemius. That's what the Jews were missing in times of the Bayesheni. They thought, we built the Beis HaMikdash, we're bringing karbanos, we're doing mitzvahs, we're doing masim tovim, we're learning. Unless a person musters the amelus and yegia in Avodas Hashem, it doesn't have the effect that it could if a person does it b'chol leiv u'b'chol nefesh. One last idea. There's a general principle in Shas that when a Masechta opens up, the Masechta will usually discuss a very technical aspect of the Masechta. I'll give you an example. Masechta Yevamis. Does anybody know, how does Masechta Yevamis begin? All the arayos are learned out from Achos Isha. So why does it say Bitoy first? It should say Achos Isha first. Really? That's what Yevamos is about? The order of the 15 Arayos? Anybody who learned Yevamos knows Yevamos is about Zika, it's about many different Asei Doichalois Asei, Litzrar, Tzara Serva. The last thing Yevamos is about the technical order of the Mishnah. Or let's say Masechta Nadarim. What is Nadarim? We know the Ikar Yesod of Nadarim is the chiluk between a neder and a shvua. Neder is a Ser Chevtza, shvua is a Ser Gavra. So the Masechta should begin by identifying what is a neder, what's the lumdus of Nadarim. No. Why does it say Kinoi and then Nadarim, the order? Throughout Shas, every Masechta begins by determining the order of the Mishnah. Welcome. You get a hug on the video, but now you have to sit down. Come right here. Oibenart. Every Masechta begins the order of the Mishnah. Yevamos, the order of the 15 Arayos. Nadarim, Kinoi Nadarim, regular Nadarim. Why wouldn't the Masechta begin with the lumdus of the Masechta? Why does it begin with a random point? So in Slabotka they said as follows. This was one of the few Divrei Torah that we know from Hagoin Reb David Leibowitz, Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. Derech Eretz Kadma La Torah. Manners, proper conduct, proper behavior is the foundation of the Torah. If you don't understand the order of the Mishnah, you can't even begin to delve into the lamdas. You can't even understand Asei Doichalois Asei or Tzara Serva or Kinoi Nadarim or Isser Gavra, Isser Chefza if you can't organize and arrange the reason for the order of the Mishnah. So the Masechta will first begin with Derech Eretz and then we could go on to Torah. You know, sometimes I learned, but it's not having an effect on me. Yeah, it's because you need a foundation to learning. The foundation of learning is Derech Eretz. Without certain organization in learning, organization in tefillah, proper Derech Eretz in overall conduct, then no mitzvah or masim toivim will be noikev the leiv because there's no yesod, there's no foundation. And that's the limud of the way Masechtas begin. Begins with Seder, and after the Seder, then we have the Lamdas. So we spoke about 4 ideas. The great Chiddush of the Chafetz Chaim, that the Gadlus of Avraham Avinu was Vayetzu Laleches Arza Canaan, and he did not let anything get in his way until Vayavoyu Arza Canaan. Not so Terach. Terach set out to Canaan, he never made it. He went to Haran. Number 2, the Yesod of the Netziv. Imani Kan. You need to be fully present, intellectually, emotionally, in the Masa Mitzvah. But if Ani Kan, if you're present, Hakol Kan, the Ribbon Hashem is present with you. The Yesod of the Malbim, that you could build the Beis HaMikdash, and you could bring karbanos, but if the hakrava is only misafa or lechutz, and it's not a maisa that's a nivla b'toich liboy u b'toich nafshoy, it's not poyal, it doesn't have an elevating effect. And then finally, the Yesod of Reb David Leibowitz, Derech Eretz Kadma L'Torah. Before you learn, before you daven, Seder always takes Hakdama, that's always the first stage. And once we understand why the Mishnah begins with Bitai and Bas Bitai, Ubas Benoi, once we know the order of the Mishnah, then we could get into the sugya Asei Doichalois Asei, we could get into the sugya of Nefila Rishonim Materes, Nefila Shniya Materes, but only first with Derech Eretz Kadma L'Torah. It's a great simcha to see everybody. There's so many people I want to give a special Baruch Haba to, but I just want to offer tremendous appreciation to Reb Nosson Weldler, who put in great amelos and yegia. in organizing this Yarchei Kallah, and looking forward to being together the next couple of days. Thank you very much. Okay, love to you.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.